UPAC is the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. It is used to give the location to a substituent in a carbon chain. It's basically used to name hydrocarbons and other chemical substances. UPAC is a recognized authority of chemical standard for nomenclatures, measurements, and atomic mass values. As I said, UPAC is used for naming hydrocarbons. There are common hydrocarbons that are alkanes, alkenes, and alkynes. The importance of using this type of nomenclature is because in other part of the world they will use the same system of nomenclature like you use it. I mean, if you go to USA or to United Kingdom or other part of the world, like they will use the same system of measurement and nomenclature of hydrocarbons. If scientists and people that study chemistry, if they use the same system, they will understand the results or information of other scientists that are in another part of the world, so they can compare their information and their results.
Hydrocarbons are organic compounds made of carbon and hydrogen atoms. It is possible for double or triple bonds between carbon atoms and even for structures such as rings to form. There are different types of hydrocarbons. Here we're going to start with alkanes. The alkane, it has at least one single bond between two carbon atoms. Here is the single bond between the two carbons and the hydrogens. Next, alkene. Alkene, it has at least one double bond between two carbon atoms. There are the double bond between the two carbon atoms, and the others are the hydrogens. Alkyne. It has at least one triple bond between two carbon atoms. There is the triple bond between the carbon atoms, and here are the hydrogen atoms. Next, aromatics. The aromatic hydrocarbons are cyclic hydrocarbons that have altering double and single bonds. You can see there is like a cycle there that they are altering double and single bonds. Here's the double single bonds between the carbons and hydrogens. There's like a cycle. Okay, the hydrocarbons are separated or divided by saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbons. The saturated hydrocarbons are the alkanes, because the alkanes are that contain only one bond of carbon and a lot of hydrogen atoms. You can see it has only two carbon atoms. It has a lot of hydrogen atoms, so it is said that it is saturated. Then the unsaturated hydrocarbons, they are the alkenes and alkyne, because contain two or three bonds of carbon and contain less hydrogen atoms. You can see there is the two carbon and the two carbon, but they has less hydrogen atom, so it is named unsaturated hydrocarbons. So now it is explained how they are separated and why.
An alkane is an acyclic saturated hydrocarbon. In other words, an alkane consists of hydrogen and carbon atoms arranged in a tree structure in which all the carbon-carbon bonds are single. With the UPAC system is first identify the longest carbon chain, then identify all the subsystems, finally number the carbons of the parent chain from the end that gives the subsystems the lowest numbers. In summary, the name of the compound is written out with the substance in alphabetical order followed by the base name.
As we already know what alkanes are, alkenes and alkynes are, I'm gonna show you an example of how to name one. Well, this is the example, and we have a chain of carbons and hydrogens. We can see that there are 7 carbons, so it makes it a hept. Now, here we can see that it has a double bond, so it must be a alkane, an alkane. Now, we need to count the spaces, the carbons before the double bond. Now, with this information, we can say that it is a heptane 2, and that would be all.
Okay, so I am gonna name what are the alkanes, alkylanes, and aromatics. And also I'm going to name some basic steps for them. Alkanes, also known as olefins, are organic compounds that consist of carbon and hydrogen atoms. They have chains of two chains with C and C carbons. The first step is to name the longest chain. To name an alkane, we have first to name the longest chain. Then, when we have the longest chain, we have to count the carbons that they are, and also locate the lowest number of carbons in the chain. For the alkynes, they are hydrocarbons, which are organic chemicals, compounds that contain carbon and hydrogen, again, atoms, and they have a stronger connection. They have first we have to name the longest chain. Again, this is similar to the alkanes. Also name the from the double bond. We have to name everything and give it a number, and then we can have a name. As we can see in the picture that I have here, this is an example of an alkyne. These are the hydrocarbons, and then when we have it, we count, and in this case it's 2-methyl 1-pentane 3-9-9. And then for the alkanes, I forgot to mention, this is an example of them. These are the carbons and hydrogens. And for the aromatics, I have another example. They also, I'm gonna name what they are. The hydrocarbons that are derived from petroleum, characterized by a ring-like molecular structure. I mean, the steps for naming an aromatic compound are first find the name of it. It can be ortho, meta, or para. And an example of the aromatics is one of these. They are like figures, like geometry, but these are aromatics. And we have here the names and the symbols. This is the symbol for ortho, this is for meta, and this is for para. Thank you.
Okay, so our team's conclusion is that this subject, the one of alkanes, alkenes, and alkynes, it's really important because everyone should know, like, we use petroleum and the distillation of oil in our daily life, like at everything we do. So it is really important for us to know where does it comes from and why does it is what it is and how does it works. So it is really important for us to understand it and know how to name them and how to use them and where does they come from. So yeah, it's really important, alkenes and alkynes, and it was really good working with the subject and making this tutorial, because as we teach everyone that watched this video, we also learned a lot by this.
In this investigation, I learned and I have a personal conclusion that if we use a specific kind of nomenclature like UPAC, it will be easier for us and for every single person that studies chemistry. It will be easier to study hydrocarbons and another kind of like titles of chemistry or in other topics.
In my conclusion, I can say that hydrocarbons are very important in our daily life. We use hydrocarbons in a lot of things. We use methane in electrical generation, propane for heating, cooking. Bothing it is used for lighters and also aerosol cans. So they are very important. We use hydrocarbons for eating, transport, a lot of things in our daily life. So it is good to give an importance to hydrocarbons and also to understand how they work, to understand and work with them.
As my final reflection of this topic of alkanes, alkynes, and alkenes, I have to say that I liked very much this topic because it was very interesting. This topic can be very difficult at first to understand, but once you get everything about it, you like it very much. Um, when I saw first this topic, I thought it was gonna be too hard to understand, but now I like it very much, and I hope we keep seeing things like this in chemistry.
My personal conclusion is that we had an amazing time doing this tutorial because we learned a lot and it helped us with exams and with our daily life, because this subject is really important and everyone should know about this. So it was a good project and I learned a lot, and I think I'm gonna use this subject in my life, like on my next subjects or my next things that I need to do about chemistry, and I think that it was really good, and thanks.
In my opinion, hydrocarbons are a part of our daily life, which is very important. Hydrocarbons can be present in all the substances. Also, for classification of substances, we can use alkynes, alkanes, and aromatics. These three can help us to identify, and also in chemistry class we can learn more using them, and also it is easier for us when applying these things if we want to study chemistry or something related to that topic.
I think my personal reflection for this practice is that this is going to help us in our further topics, and it's going to help us understanding the topic we're seeing in the classes and for the further exams.